Good, wonderful morning to everybody, and I've got a new setup. No longer going to be looking down to read the pages from the book. I've got it on a monitor right beneath the screen. It's going to be excellent. I'm super excited to get to today's reading for you. We are starting Chapter 2 from Life and Teaching of the Masters of the Far East. I'm doing the first half of Chapter 2, about 7 pages. Tomorrow I'll do the second half, and then I'm going to conclude today's reading with a one-page reading from Samuel Brengal's Take Time to Be Holy. Get the little streamer out of the way. So I'll put a screenshot of the title of the front page of the book up for you in case you also want to get it. I'm going to be reading April 17th's selection from that book, and I'm going to try and do that every day. And then we'll walk through that book. Take Time to Be Holy has a much more Christian slant, even though the Life and Teachings of the Masters of the Far East has a Christian slant. The Life and Teaching of the Masters of the Far East is a much more mystical kind of oneness spirituality message as compared to a strictly Christian slant. Nonetheless, I'll give my commentary. I'm super excited for this new setup. Without further ado, let's get right into Chapter 2. The next morning, after we had gathered for breakfast, we questioned our hostess and found it was not an uncommon occurrence for Jesus to come as he did, and she said he often came and joined the others in their healing work. After breakfast, we found that our hostess and 2 other ladies were to accompany us to the temple that day. As we left the house, 2 men joined the party. One told our hostess that there was a sick child in the village who was asking for her. We followed the men to the home of the child and found it very ill. Our hostess walked forward and held out her hands. The mother placed the child in her arms. Instantly, the little one's face brightened. Then it snuggled up close for a moment and in a few minutes was sound asleep. Our hostess returned the child to the mother and we proceeded to the temple. On the way, she remarked, "Oh, if these dear people would only see and do the work for themselves instead of depending upon us, it would be so much better for them. As it is, they let us entirely alone until some emergency arises. Then they call for us. Which is quite all right, except it does not give them any self-reliance whatever. We would much prefer to see them themselves self-reliant, but they are childlike in every single way." By this time, we had reached the foot of the ladder. We went up and entered the tunnel, the 2 men accompanying us. As this tunnel was through solid rock, it was natural to suppose that it would be dark, but it was lighted sufficiently to enable us to see objects for a considerable distance ahead, and the light seemed to be around us so that there were no shadows. We had noticed this the day before, but no one had remarked about it. Upon making inquiry, we were told that the light was around us just as it appeared to be, and that when there was no one in the tunnel, it was actually dark. We went on through the tunnel and up the stairs to the 3rd room. This room was somewhat larger than the 2 below, and there were a great many tablets stored along 2 walls. Just back of this room, we found that another large room had been excavated, and we later learned that this room was also filled with similar tablets. These tablets were of a reddish dark brown color, quite well glazed. Some were about 14 to 24 inches and about 2 inches thick. They weighed from 10 to 12 pounds each. Others were much larger. We were puzzled, however, to know how these could have been transported over the mountains. We expressed our wonderment at this time and were told that they were not transported over the mountains, but were brought to the Gobi country when it was fertile and well settled before mountains were raised. Then, long after the mountains came up, the tablets were removed to this place to guard against any possibility of their being destroyed. It is claimed that before the mountains rose, a great tidal wave ran over a portion of the country, totally devastating it and a large part of the population. To those who survived, they were cut off from the world and a means of livelihood. and they became the forefathers of the roving bands of brigands which infested the Gobi at this time. It is claimed that the great Uguri Empire existed where the Himalayas and the Gobi are today, that large cities of people in a high state of civilization existed there, and that drifting sand covered the ruins after they were destroyed by the water. We afterwards took the descriptions as they were translated to us from the tablets and found 3 of these cities, and we believed that someday, when further excavations are completed, they will prove the authenticity of these records, and that which is claimed for them. These records place the date of this civilization back hundreds of thousands of years. As this is not a treatise on research, I feel that I have digressed. We were shown through the different rooms. During the general conversation, it developed that one of the men who joined our party in the morning was a descendant of the man whom we met in the village where John the Baptist had lived, and whom we called our friend of the records. This man showed every sign of advanced years, which caused us to wonder. While we were returning to the first room, our chief asked if a desire could be fulfilled as soon as it was expressed. Our hostess answered that if the desire was put forth in true form, it would be fulfilled. She then went on to say that desire is but a form of prayer, that it was the true form of prayer which Jesus used, and his prayers were then answered. That prayer, which is always answered, must be true prayer, therefore must be scientific, and if scientific, must be according to fixed law. Continuing, she said, the law is, as you know, your prayer is granted, and what things you desire when you pray, know you receive them, and you shall have them. If we know positively that whatever we have asked for is ours already, we may know that we are working in accordance with the law. If the desire is filled, then we may know that the law is fulfilled. If the desire is not filled, then we must know that we have asked amiss. We should know that the fault is with us and not with God. Then the instructions are, you shall love the Lord your God with all your heart and all your soul, with all your mind, and with all of your strength. Now go deep, deep down within your own soul, not with foreboding, fear, and unbelief, but with a glad, free, thankful heart, knowing that that which you stand in need of is already yours. The secret lies in getting the at-one-ment, getting the consciousness of it, and then holding firmly and never deviating through though all earth should oppose. Of myself I can do nothing, said Jesus. The Father that dwells in me, he does the work. Have faith in God. Have faith and doubt not. Have faith and fear not. Now remember, there is no limitation to God's power, for all things are possible. Use positive words in making your request. There is not but the perfect condition desired. Then plant in your soul the perfect seed, idea, and that alone. Now ask to manifest health, and not to be healed of disease, to express harmony and realize abundance, not to be delivered from inharmony, misery, and limitations. Throw these off as you would discard any old garment. They are old and only outgrown things. You can afford to discard them joyfully. Do not even turn to gaze upon them. They are no thing, nothing. Fill the seemingly blank spaces about you with the thought of God, infinite good. Then remember, the Lord God is a seed. It must grow. Leave the how, when, and where to God. Your work is merely to say what you want and to give forth blessings, knowing that the moment you have asked, you have received. All the details of this bringing forth is the work of the Father. Remember, He does the work. Do faithfully your part, leave and trust God's part to Him. Ask affirm, look to God for what you want, then receive God's fulfillment. Keep the thought of God's abundance always in mind. If any other thought comes, replace it with that of God's abundance and bless that abundance. Give thanks constantly, if need be, that the work is done. Do not go back again to the asking. Just bless and give thanks that the work is done, that God is working in you, that you are receiving that which you desire. For you desire only the good, that you may give out the good to all. Let this be in silence and in secret. Pray to your Father in secret, and your Father who sees the secret of your soul will reward you openly. When the demonstration is complete, you will look back upon the time faithfully giving as one of your greatest treasures. You will have proved the law, and you will realize the power of your works spoken in faith and blessing. Remember that God has perfected his plan. He has poured out and is continuously pouring out lovingly and lavishly upon us all good and every good thing that we can desire. Again, he says, "Try me and see if I will not open the windows of heaven and pour out such a blessing that there will not be room to receive it. With all my heart. In the heart of my being, Father, I am one with you, and I recognize you as being the Father of all. You are Spirit, omnipresent, omnipotent, omniscient. You are wisdom, love, and truth, the power and substance and intelligence of which and through which all things are created. You are the life of my spirit, the substance of my soul, the intelligence of my thought. I am expressing you in my body and in my affairs. You are the beginning and the end, the very all of the good which I can express. The desire of my thought which is implanted in my soul is quickened by your life in my spirit. And in the fullness of time, through the law of faith, it is brought into visibility in my experience. I know that the good I desire already exists in spirit, in inevitable form, and but awaits in the invisible form, and but awaits the fulfillment of the law to be made visible, and I know that I already have. The words which I now speak outline to you, this comes from the passage with all my soul. The words which I now speak outline to you, my Father, that which I desire. As a seed, it is planted in the soil of my soul and moved upon by your quickening life in my spirit. It must come forth. I allow only your spirit, wisdom, love, and truth to move in my soul. I desire only that which is good for all, and I now ask you, Father, to bring it forth. Father, within me, I ask to express love, wisdom, strength, and eternal youth. I ask to realize harmony, happiness, and abundant prosperity, that I may have the understanding direct from you of the method of bringing forth from the universal substance that which will satisfy every good desire. This is not for self, Father, but that I may have the understanding so that I may be of service to all your children with all my mind. That which I desire is already in visible form. I form in mind only that which I desire. As a seed begins its growth underground in the quiet and in the dark, so does my desire now take form in the silent, invisible realm of my soul. I enter my closet and shut the door, quietly and confidently. I now hold my desire in mind as already fulfilled. Father, I now await the perfect outpicturing of my desire. Father, within me, I thank you that now in the invisible, the fulfillment of my desire is always established. And I know that you have poured out lovingly and lavishly to all an abundance of your treasure, that you have filled every good desire of my life, that I may partake of your opulent supply, that I may realize my oneness with you, that all your children may realize the same, and that whatever I have, I may pour out to help all your children. All that I have, I give to you, Father, with all my strength. Now no act or thought of mine shall deny that I have already received in spirit the fulfillment of my desire, and it is now brought forth into perfect visibility. In spirit, in soul, in mind, in body, I am true to my desire. I have perceived my good in spirit. I have conceived it as a perfect idea in soul, and I have given true thought form to my desire. I now bring into visibility, or true manifestation, my perfect desire. I thank you, Father, that I now have love, wisdom, and understanding, life, health, strength, and eternal youth, harmony, happiness, and abundant prosperity, and the method of bringing forth from the universal substance that which will satisfy every good desire. Said I not unto you, if you would believe, you should see the glory of God. After our hostess had spoken all of this, there was deep silence for a moment. Then she continued, understand that if it is not finished and your desire is not now visible, the fault is within yourselves and not within God. Do not go back again to the asking, but like Elijah, persist. Hold out the cup until it is filled. Pour out blessings and thanks that it is done now. Though every mortal thought of error beset you, go on. Go on. It is here now. And believe me, your faith is then rewarded. Your faith becomes knowing. I love the way that first part of chapter 2 ends. Your faith becomes knowing. Because after a certain part of practicing affirmations, because that's what this is, we are getting to the core of some real true spiritual practice. Affirmations. Every single thing that the masters have been telling us through these books has manifest in my life. It has become real. It is, in fact, knowing for me that I am abundant, I am prosperous, I am healthy, I am strong, I am wise. Why? Because these were the things that I put out into the universe. The beautiful realization that one comes upon during the spiritual path is the reality of all of these things. That every single one of us is not only the Christ energy, and that we need not only fan it into a flame and thus realize it, but with a realization such as this, and maybe it is that they are steps along the path unto the realization of the Christ within, that we realize that what we really are is perfect health, perfect abundance, all wisdom. Just you name it. If it is a good, it is already what you are. And if by your own believing in your own strength, you have not yet manifest these realities that are your true divine inherent birthright, then like the masteress hostess says to the sojourners, the fault lies entirely within yourself, in the way that you have been putting thought energy into the universal mind. Your mind and my mind is infinitely connected to the universal mind. The universal mind is all abundance, all prosperity. It is all things at all times, omnipotent, omniscient, and omnipresent. That is the reality of the universe. And because you are infinitely and intrinsically connected to that and share the same identity as it. It is just nothing but oneness. You too, then, are omniscient, omnipresent, and omnipotent. So it only takes a knowingness of this for it to be so. And it's not easy, I'll be completely honest, but after it clicks through repetition, that's what they end up the passage with. Hold out your cup. Don't go back to the asking. That insinuates doubt. When you go back to the asking, that is when doubt starts to kind of come in. Oh, it's not here yet, so therefore it must not be coming. That is doubt, right? That's not the way that the Masteress Hostess outlines, all right? She says, no, be like Elijah, persist. And like they talked about in book 1, be like Jesus before the realization of the unity consciousness, the Christ consciousness that made him the man, the myth, the legend, right? Persist with set teeth and clenched fist, knowing that abundance is your divine birthright. Wisdom is your divine birthright. Prosperity is your divine birthright. It is the reality of the universe, therefore it must be your reality as well. Persist in the knowingness. Persist in the desire. But don't go back to the asking. Don't go back to the wanting and the longing. And to wrap up this bit of commentary, don't doubt that these things are your divine birthright, that they are truly yours, and that all it takes is a recognition of them for them to be so. All right? Now I want to end this video with today's reading from Take Time to Be Holy, because it's pretty synchronistic how the message actually ties in to what we just read from Baird T. Spalding. All right, so bring it up here. And this is from April 17th. It's called Fruits of the Resurrection. All things are yours, and you are Christ's, and Christ's is God's. 1 Corinthians 3:21 and 23. As it was for Jesus' first followers, so it is for us. The foundation of their and our faith was not fully laid by his life and ministry. It was made complete by his resurrection from the dead. Having been baptized with the Holy Spirit, those early disciples thenceforth received life and power from Christ. And as the vine produces fruit through the branches, so the fruit of Christ's life and spirit was formed in them. In him was sacrificial, deathless love, and this love was reproduced in them. Joy, the very joy of Jesus, was perfected in them. He bequeathed his joy to them. What a treasure! He left them his peace, the peace of an assured and endless life over which death has no power. Patience was perfected in them. Eternity was in their hearts. The gentleness, goodness, faith, and meekness of their Lord, all these were reproduced in them and made manifest in word and deed. It was Christ living his life in them. Can this resurrection life and power be yours and mine? Yes, it is for all. It is for you and me. All is ours, since we are Christ's and Christ is God's. So this is and it's page 107. It couldn't be more synchronistic of a day for me to start reading from the Take Time to Be Holy book and sharing the message on my YouTube channel, because what did I talk about before? Variations of 117, 107, 1007, 1117, 117. Any variations of that number pattern always is a divine kind of road sign along the path saying, you are headed in the right direction, keep up the good work. And in this little short reading, what is Mr. Brengal telling us? The same thing that the masters are telling us, saying it a little bit differently, in a way that could lead an individual who is maybe more prone to dogma, ritualism, and legalism to, again, make that dualistic division between God, Christ, and man, when really it's all one, right? If we are following the masters in the way that they are outlining reality, it's all just one thing. We have the option and the free will to believe in duality while we are down on third density planet Earth, and third density planet Earth is structured so that we can entertain the material, the flesh body, and duality. But it is also the perfect proving ground, if you will, the perfect arena for us to realize oneness. It is so much, I would say, better. And how could I possibly know this? But I would say that it is so much better for us to realize oneness while we are here on third density planet Earth, because we may not have enough contrast, as Abraham Hicks likes to put it, in higher densities for us to really fully grasp the oneness principle. Now, that being said, it kind of goes, in my understanding, that once you've made the transition from third density to fourth density consciously, you are on that ascension timeline. You are making your way ever and ever closer to Christ consciousness, to unity consciousness, the rainbow body, whatever you want to call it, however you want to label, infinite assimilation with the infinite, okay? So, with all of that said, I hope that this video has been it has been of assistance to you in any way along your journey, and if you're on this timeline with me, this ascension timeline, and with so many others, then blessings to you. Let's keep up the good work. Let's continue to know that we are abundant, that we are divine, that we are infinite. And let's continue through our daily lives to enact this, because that's the other take home from chapter 2, part 1, is that we need to enact it. In some ways, I hesitate to put it this way, but it's like fake it till you make it, sort of. If you've got a college degree or you've gone into any form of study, you kind of get what I'm saying there. But genuinely and honestly, if you are living your life in a service to others modality, then how can you really be faking it? Maybe your ulterior motive at the time of the service in the beginning is because you're like, all right, well, I know that this is what I'm supposed to do. And maybe, yes, you are a little reluctant to do it, but you're doing it because, all right, this is the right thing to do. This is the good thing to do. This will get me one step closer towards realizing all of the things that the masters are talking about. But know that that is ego. That is ego, wanting to return to the comfortable life, the service to self timeline. Know that that's not really you, right? That's not really who you really are, that is reluctant to serve others and to be more loving and to raise your consciousness. That's the ego. The ego doesn't want you to rise up and to extrapolate yourself from the hold of the ego. We'll just keep calling it the ego. But nonetheless, the more and more that you engage in affirmations, loving kindness, meditation, service unto others, the more and more you are going to fall in love with it, I guarantee. And when you start to reap the fruit from sowing those service unto others seeds, you're not going to want to eat from any other tree. That's just the reality of service unto others life, okay? The blessings that we get from engaging in the work, which is service unto others, are infinite. They far exceed the fruit that we can get by trusting in our own strength from the sweat of our own brow by being service unto self-oriented. Namaste, blessings.